Thank you for showing up. We'll start with a quick intro. My name is Sumanta Paul. I'm a managing director at Accenture for data and AI. And these days, since the GPT landed, I'm focusing more on AI engineering. So from the Center of Advanced AI, I'm here with my client from Standard. We are part of their data journey since 3 years now. So I'll hand over to my colleague here, Josh, to do his intros.
Hey everybody, I'm Josh Adams, part of the data and AI team over at the Standard, and I also have an extra special guest with me that we just dragged up on the stage to help us out here.
Hi, my name's Katarina Anderson. I've worked for the Standard for a very long time, and yes, I was just pulled on stage, so I'm going to help add some color to our journey. You want me to start? So I've worked a long time with our legacy systems. Most of them were, the data was in Oracle databases. We started to move to a new platform. Josh, you can fill in some of the technical details. We lovingly refer to it as EDP 1.0.
Yeah, so the journey was from on-prem SQL servers, Oracle, to HD Insight and Azure as part of our cloud adoption as we first started moving into there. And from there we went from HD Insights and naturally progressed into Databricks to help solve all our problems, which you can see from here. Obviously we had a lot of different lines of businesses, a lot of people doing a lot of things across the organization. There was lack of harmonization. I'm sure same things that a lot of organizations suffer and still suffer from today.
So Josh, I think these are the classical problems we are solving for, which I'm sure not a surprise for anybody in the room. What are the specific business challenges you're solving for? Because you're a regulated industry, right? So compliances, privacy, of course fragmented, siloed, those are more classical challenges. You want to talk about that?
What do you think?
Oh my goodness. We have just like a lot of older insurance companies, we have 100 plus legacy source systems with all disparate data stores living in a million different databases, and bringing that data together is very challenging. So one of the things we started to do was move the data all together and harmonize it so that it could be leveraged across all of our business units, and then eventually the external customers, they would have one place to go. Rather than having to go to the database or data source for all of the different source systems, they could go to one place. So that was a huge use case for us.
Awesome, thank you. So moving on to from problems to solutions, these are again, I think, no surprise, but the ones you see which are not checked yet, those are the ones where we haven't scaled yet. So scale readiness is one of them, but I will let Josh cover details around each of these areas, if you like.
So naturally, Unity Catalog was one of the big saviors as we adopted it and continued to mature it out, as we continue to look at mergers and acquisitions and bringing on other lines of business. It allows us to come back to that whole harmonization piece so we can really have dynamic and programmatic ways of being able to share data across our entire organization. And obviously, part of that, to support that, we have to, the Medallion architecture that we've adopted so that we have our bronze, silver, gold layers, and Kat here actually is a big part of building those curation layers out. Would you like to say anything about that piece?
We do have the bronze, silver, gold. Bronze is pretty much what you would expect with an ingestion, all the pipelines bringing in all the source data, landing it. And then what we started to do in curation was harmonize the data. So when we think about our ontology or what our model is, like who is our policyholder, what is a policyholder, what is a member, we started to build that out. What is the model? What does it look like? Claims, payments, covered people, claimants, all of these different attributes or pieces of the model. and bring all the data in from the different legacy source systems. I think our journey's continuing. We've done a great job of building that out, finding where it is helpful in the use case that we were initially trying to meet the mark at, and also where it has deficits and where maybe it's not meeting the mark. So our journey actually is continuing as we move forward.
As Kat mentioned, we're actually in the middle of kind of a greenfield redesign of everything from that we've done historically with Databricks. A lot of new features that are coming out constantly, right? So how do you stay ahead of that, right? Well, the important thing is that you've got to have the core pieces in place, and it has to be done the right way. So as we look to the future and the future of AI and everything else, like, we've got to be ready, and for us to be ready, we've got to make sure that the core pieces of the platform, the most foundational pieces of it, have to be rock solid for us to continue to build on, in an innovative pace, so that we're always in a place where we can provide competitive advantage and not fall behind, because things are moving so rapidly. And what we found is, without Databricks, without all the things that it brings, right, it would be really hard. We'd have to have multiple different systems, which we have. We're trying to consolidate where it makes sense. We're doing some pretty amazing things, and I think I'm really looking forward to how this is all going to unfold for us.
So as you think, new products, new features coming from both Fabric, Azure, or Databricks, from data product standpoint, do you want to talk about how you're thinking about the journey of data mesh architectures going into data products view, and now again it's more convoluted with all state acquisition coming in? Anything you'd like to enlighten us on?
Yeah, so it's we're in a bit of a quandary, to be honest with you. At this point, we're trying to figure out what that's going to look like for us, because we're experiencing some new things coming out. We definitely have teams that are building products. We're kind of set up like we're doing data mesh, but we're kind of not really doing any of that. If we really look at it, if we're being honest. So we're trying to really solve for that problem right now, because we work with actuaries that were, corporate actuaries, employee benefits actuaries. We've got all kinds of different actuaries. Now we have different companies that we have are conveying over to us. So it's like, well, how, in order to make sure that we don't go down that same path that we had in the past, how do we make sure that we continue to collaborate and harmonize everything together? And the only way we're able to do that is to make sure that we have, like, all of our infrastructure as code built out for self-service, so that we can push a button if somebody needs a workspace, and all the permissions and the data's there, and it's all, seamlessly done well for everyone to be able to take advantage of it. But we also have to be able to monitor the exhaust of, people that are gone rogue. Like, what are they actually doing? Like, we do have, auditing and compliance and other things that we have to consider. So we can't just be, wild west all the time.
And then I love what you said there, and kudos to you and your teams to think really like a product engineering mindset, where you're not thinking about siloed solutions, but really building products, right? Data products, AI products, and you have so many frameworks: ingestion framework, curation framework, SRE frameworks. You want to talk about anything on the SRE automation piece?
Yeah. So obviously, even though people like Kat and I don't work 24/7, we are technically a 24/7 business, and we have to have an operational model that supports that while we're sleeping. And part of that is to ensure that we have the coverage that we need, but also from a DevOps, principles, from CI/CD principles. We try to automate everything as much as we possibly can, where it makes sense. But it also has to ensure that, we use things like PagerDuty to make sure that if something's going wrong, like, everybody gets alerted when they need to. We have certain SLAs that we have to maintain, right? We have to have certain transparency that we have to maintain. And that's where, a lot of that SRE automation stuff comes in.
Thanks for that. Question for you, Kat. Pivoting from I would say, traditional data modeling to more the modern architectures, Medallion architecture, data products, foundation for really building AI at scale. Any perspective you want to share from data modeling, how that's pivoting to the future?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm still in a journey in learning that coming from our old legacy world and thinking just about like a data model from one source system, and then how that transitions when you're bringing all of those source systems together. We really have spent a lot of time working on a canonical model for our business, right? But now we're sort of stepping back and saying that may not always work. We may have to like go back a little bit to source system specific depending on use case. I think data modeling, traditional data modeling is traditional data modeling at the end of the day. But, we're learning as we go, so.
Sure. Thanks for that. And I was thinking that we have some time to go. Around cataloging, governance, of course, Unity Catalog is now open source, 100% serverless compute. And you're probably in that journey, embarking that journey. Anything you'd like to comment or share with the group here?
Data governance has been huge for us, and our business units are coming along in that as we build this out, and having that unified as well is a point of maturity that's come along for us, and we're still growing in that area as well, I think. I'm not sure what else I would add around there. My mind went blank. I had a thought and it's gone.
Yeah. As I mentioned, we're in an opportunity right now where we're kind of re-looking at our platform and rebuilding from the ground up. And part of that is trying to maintain, like I say trying, when you trying to get a budget for governance isn't exactly always easy for everybody. But we're trying to approach this from a governance first perspective so that we have kind of built out these developer expectations of what that means, so that when we're moving pipelines out of development into UAT as an example, there has to be certain things done to it. Metadata has to be there, our comments need to be there, all the permissions and everything else obviously needs to be there. All of the data quality and profiling or whatever it is, it's all automated for us now. As when the new data set comes online and we have data contracts that basically specify what it is we need to do, we built out our workflows in a way that it just basically drives itself through there, and with different flags that we set up, it can go off and do different things so that everything works together. So, yeah.
Awesome. Sounds great. I think we'll pivot to now the design principles. You'd like to walk us through?
Yeah, so for those of you who've probably seen a flavor of these, Databricks has their own well-architected framework that you can follow, but these are pretty much pretty similar to some of the other cloud companies that you're going to have. But these are the principles that we've set out to maintain as best as we possibly can as we're redesigning and redeploying everything that we've been building. Obviously, data and AI governance is critical, for an insurance company. Interoperability and usability, again, we have a lot of disparate sources that we're trying to get rid of, and what we don't want to do is build something that's just going to eventually end us up in the same place. So interoperability and system-to-system integrations is a core foundation that we're considering as we're doing that. Obviously, operational excellence. We want everybody to have kind of FinOps mindset as they're developing out. Databricks does have a lot of cool features, good thing, a lot of ability to monitor cost, but that's not always forefront for a developer's mind, right? So we want to help teach everybody as they're developing out, just to be cost and financial conscious of what it is they're actually doing in real time. And then security, privacy, compliance, I think that everybody's favorite word speaks for itself. Reliability, obviously we want something that's going to be up and running and going to serve our customers and our clients for what we need. And performance, efficiency, it's probably one of my favorite ones, which is getting under the hood in Spark and really tuning things, but making sure everybody has the opportunity and understands, when you're writing code, the way you write code is impactful to the underlying compute, right? So just trying to be conscious of the way that we're doing things and trying to get everything out of the system that we possibly can.
Awesome. I know that you still have a lot of mainframe systems, right? And of course the modern systems are coming in, but you have a lot of mainframe systems, so maybe, again, it's a big decision for the company, right, to kind of pivot to more modern systems from a privacy, even skills or knowledge available in the company who might have built those systems many, many years back, right? Any perspective you'd like to share on that?
mainframe better than I do.
I'm not really sure what you're looking for here, but for the mainframe, I think Databricks has allowed us to take that data, bring those files over from the mainframe, pivot the data and understand it, and then curate it much simpler than we would have with older technologies. It's pretty seamless for us now to take one of those files with the myriad of occurs clauses that might be in there and pivot it and see each one as a separate row and then decide what we want to do with each one. Databricks has just made that so much easier for us. So I don't know if the mainframe's going away, but dealing with the data is a lot easier. So
Absolutely. And I don't know how much more complex stuff are coming your way from your acquisition standpoint with all state coming in.
I think more mainframe is coming is what I hear.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
getting like 3,000 new hits or something like that. So
Yeah, a lot more.
it's going to be interesting.
All right, I think we have a few more minutes. So I was thinking, anything you'd like to share around the open box, which was not ready yet from a scaled AI standpoint, architectures, scaling strategies you might have in place. Anything you can share with the group?
Yeah, I mean, we're an Azure shop, so there's definitely a lot of resources there that we use and maintain. But from a Databricks perspective, we obviously have adopted the Mosaic framework for everything AI. We've got some pretty cool projects already in production, some going into production later this year. We estimate around $40+ million that we've saved annually already with some of the things that we've been pushing out. So pretty exciting, and lots more to come.
Wow, that's a big number. Congratulations on that. All right, I think we can close then. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the
Thank you,
attention. Have a good event. Thank you so much.